Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday, March 4th. And I'm super excited because today I have a very special lady who comes in and she is from Mustard Sea Bag of Courage. Nancy is a fierce advocate for victims of domestic violence, and as a result of her own experience from the domestic violence, she founded Mustard Sea Bag of Courage, a nonprofit organization that empowers and encourages survivors of domestic violence to live a life free from abuse. In her hometown of Clearwater, Florida, Nancy has been awarded as the hometown hero from Fox 13, Tampa Bay, and everyday hero from Bay News 9. Internationally, Nancy has been a guest on the After Dark podcast. On the national level, Nancy has also been on I Am a Survivor and Are You Happy? Are you happy in your heart? Podcast and was featured in the November 2019 issues of Woman Day magazine. So please join me with a warm welcome, Nancy Gonzalez. Thank you, Nancy, for coming. I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is there's so much amazing things that you've been doing, and it all originated from your own experience through the domestic violence. And what ended up happening is you founded this nonprofit organization called Mustard Seed. Can you just share a little bit in terms of what was that transformation like in terms of realizing that you were a victim, going into creating something that would benefit everyone else who are victims? What was that transformation like?
Well, when I was married to my abuser, I was married to him for 14 years. And the first few years, I didn't even really realize I was in an abusive relationship. He was very verbally abusive to me, but I always took it as, well, he had a bad day or he's stressed, things like that. And as time went on, I started to go, this doesn't seem right. It wasn't sitting right with me that he was being verbally abusive. Well, that all changed the night that he came home after a night of drinking with his friends and he physically attacked me. After that, the relationship went down. He started to physically attack me quite often. And obviously, I knew that there was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Without even realizing it, I started to create a safety plan or an exit plan, and I started saving money. I started buying gift cards that I thought would help myself and my three children after we left. And several years later, I was able to leave that marriage. I left as much as I had the perfect plan in place. I had rented a house that I was going to be able to live with my children, and everything was ready. We had to leave abruptly 2 days earlier because I was afraid for my safety. I honestly thought that if I stayed, I wasn't going to get out alive that particular night. So I took my kids and I left. I ended up going to a girlfriend's house that I had to hide for a couple of days. And the first morning that after we left, my friend was helping me get toothbrushes for my kids, find some toothpaste, deodorant for me, things like that. And I remember feeling very low, very sad. And that's because my ex husband, for the longest time, would tell me I was never going to make it without him. He always told me I was going to need constant help and that I was never going to make it. So I started thinking, oh my gosh, here I've already left. It's not even been 24 hours, and already I'm depending on someone to help me. And that feeling stayed with me. So fast forward about 2 or 3 years later, I'm driving in the car after dropping off my daughter off at school, and a very popular preacher was on the radio. I was listening to him. He started talking about the mustard seed. And he
Mm-hmm.
had said that if you have something planted inside of you, like a seed, and you allow it to grow and you allow it to sprout, something amazing and beautiful is going to come out. Well, the feeling that I had of having someone else take care of me with providing me essentials for my children, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it just really stayed with me. So when I got to work, I thought, I'm just going to write a Facebook post and I'm going to ask my friends, I don't know, I want to collect some bags. Let's put some toiletries together and give them out to the local shelter. And that was it. That was supposed to be it. I was just going to be a one-time thing, my good deed for the day.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, that post went viral. And it was absolutely amazing what happened. I had news stations calling me. My inbox was just full of messages of people wanting to help, and my post kept shared and shared. It was like over hundreds and hundreds of shares. And I couldn't believe that this was happening because, like I said, all I wanted to do was a good deed for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a friend of mine that owns a storage unit had said to her, I think a lot of people are going to be donating stuff and I don't know what to do. She said, well, I'm going to give you a unit for free just for a couple days to put your stuff in there. It was like a one-car garage about that size. And we'll figure it out from there. Okay, great. She gives me this. Within 24 hours, that unit was full of clothes and toiletries and all kinds of stuff. I had
Mm-hmm.
to get another unit. So I filled up two of them. And from there, I started growing this huge nonprofit that was helping so many people. So, because I founded it on that little tiny mustard seed, that's where that mustard seed name comes from, because I had the faith that it was going to grow. The
Mm-hmm.
bags of courage, because it takes courage to leave a domestic violent relationship, I wanted the word courage in there. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is the bags that we give out to the survivors is not like a plastic bag or a grocery bag. We pride on our
Mm-hmm.
fact that they are makeup bags and actual purses. Because the women that are going through this situation are already feeling so low and so down about themselves that when they receive a pretty bag filled with all kinds of toiletries, including makeup, some of them have perfume and jewelry, they already start feeling better. They start feeling independent, there's more confidence, and they have that feeling of, I could do this. This is going to be okay. And that's kind of where it's developed. So I started getting the community involved. I thought, well, it can't be just with me. So I started to get other agencies in the community involved. Several police departments and sheriff's office carry our bags. And I've kind of made it known of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And through the bags, they're able to contact me so they get more resources. I've helped women create exit plan. To date, I've helped 9 women create an exit plan, and we're able to help them get out safely so they can leave that relationship. So a lot more has come out of just by giving them a little bag.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been just such a blessing. And my goal behind the whole thing was what happened to me was so horrific and it was so bad, but I wanted something good to come out of it. And I consider it to be a blessing what happened to me, because now I'm able to make a difference to other victims of domestic violence. And it's been absolutely amazing. And I'm the one that I feel is so blessed to be able to help all of these people now because of my situation.
What an amazing journey.
Yeah, it has been.
And I'm looking at the logo because you mentioned that that's the logo in the back, and it looks like a
Yes.
tree, right? It's in the form of a
Yes.
tree. Yeah.
Yeah, we changed it a little bit. That logo is our old logo. It's green and now it's purple because purple is the color of domestic violence. But our logo is two hands together and then the leaves are all around it. And it's supposed to symbolize, the hands of helping each other out. And the leaves kind of are all of the survivors that we're helping and that we're all together in this. It's kind of like the tree of life. We
Mm,
just help each other out with this because they're not alone.
yeah.
And the fact that I've been through it, a lot of them just want to just talk, and having someone to talk to them to say, you're not going crazy, it's okay, and you're going to be okay, sometimes is just all that they need.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I just feel so blessed to be able to do this.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm so inspired by, as you're talking about the nonprofit, I can feel the passion that's coming out of you. It's burning and it was something that's very meaningful and you went through that
Yes,
journey yourself. So I can only imagine how meaningful, how important this is for you, on a personal level and also on a professional level. Now you're helping
absolutely.
others who's going through
Hmm.
that same journey. And
Hmm.
and as you're from your observation, What do you think the women would need? Because I think a lot of women who's in this domestic violence, or even just in a relationship where their significant other is belittling them, not
Mhm.
verbally perhaps, or sometimes even physically, they're belittling them or abusing them. What do you think in that moment of time those women need?
Well, the best thing to do is if you feel like they're in an abusive relationship, is start creating a safety plan. And I always tell people you can start this right now, and it's not hard to do. Start to create an idea of what you're going to do. Where can you go? So if you are in a situation where you need to get out because you feel like you're just not going to make it,
Mhm.
where can you go? Do you have a friend's house? Do you have a shelter? Is there an agency that maybe can help you? And start collecting documents that you're going to need, your passport, any bank statements. If you have children, get their birth certificates together, things like that, that you can start taking care of yourself. If there's a way that they can start to save money, I encourage them to do that, to start putting money aside,
Mhm.
buying gift cards if they have to. That's what I did. I was able to buy grocery store gift cards, so
Mhm.
I can provide food for my kids. So if you start to create a plan and kind of, okay, this is what I'm going to do, you start to feel a little bit more grounded in the sense that you think, okay, I can get through this. This is what I'm going to do. And when you have goals and you have plans in place, it gives you more direction versus looking at the big picture and saying, oh my gosh, if I leave, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't afford this. I can't afford that. But if you break it down into little bite sized pieces and realize, okay, I can do this. Because the most important thing is if you're being abused, no matter what kind of abuse it is, no one deserves that. So you shouldn't be in that relationship. So you have to figure out what it is, how you can get out safety. And I also tell people that don't be afraid to get the police involved, because they are there to help us. And by talking to them and explaining the situation, you also have protection in that sense. So you can present it to the court if you have to, that look, this person's been bothering me and this is what's going on. So that creates a little bit more help in your exit plan.
Mhm. And in your experience, have you come across any individual or any woman who come to you and say, Nancy, I wanted to create this plan, but I have this tremendous amount of fear. I'm afraid that even if I make a little tiny move, he's gonna notice or she's gonna notice. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just assuming that it's women mostly, but men can have domestic violence as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you help those individuals who have those fear?
Well, first of all, yes, I've helped men as well. They are few and far between because, quite frankly, they're very embarrassed to say anything. But what I say to them is to number one, be very careful. So if they can find a way and they can confide in a friend to help them. So once they've gathered, let's say, those documents, I ask them, is there someone that can hold them for you? Do you have a friend or a relative or even a coworker that can hold them for you? I
Mhm.
also tell them to let someone know, someone that they can confide in. They need to explain what's going on so that people are aware of the situation. So, and I understand being paralyzed by that fear because I was in that situation. I tried many times of leaving or even trying to do something, and I was so afraid. But once we start talking and am able to explain to them, okay, what do you need to do? And we start to break it down, they start to feel confident enough to, okay, so maybe I can do this. And there have been times that I've worked with women that, okay, he's left for work. I'm ready to go. Okay, great. Where are you going to go? That kind of thing. And then they call me and they say, I can't, I'm frozen. I'm literally frozen and I can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then maybe right now is not the time to do it, because when that time comes that you decide that you need to leave and you're going to do it, nothing in the world can stop you from doing it. And there's nothing that he or she can say to you to stop you from doing it. And once I know they've reached that point, I
Mhm.
know that they're going to get out safely and I know they're going to be able to prosper and be good. But that fear is very paralyzing and it's so scary because you just
Yes.
don't know, okay, I feel like I failed. And I tell them, you didn't fail. It's okay. We're going to try again tomorrow. Let's see. Why don't we try this? And we come up with another plan. So it's just taking the little steps to get them. There it is. It's very hard. And it's also very scary because I tell them that that could be the scariest time, because if that person happens to come home and sees what happened, you don't know how they're going to react. So
Right.
there's a lot of things that they have to take into place before they actually leave.
Mhm. And what I'm hearing is you're doing such an amazing support to provide women with resources and guidance and helping, just really helping hands to these women who
Hmm.
can't do that. And you're doing it from a personal experience, personal level. And I feel like this is something that a lot of people can benefit. Are there any legal support that you receive as a nonprofit organization, or how do you get your support?
Well, I'm in the process of writing grants to get some support, because I do eventually want to run my nonprofit full time. Right now, I do have a full time job. So I'm in the process of doing that. But in my own community here in Clearwater, Florida, I'm really involved in our community.
Mhm.
So if a survivor comes to me that needs help, I more than likely will know an agency that can help. And if that agency can't, then that person might be able to refer them someplace else. As
Mhm.
far as the legal help, there are two organizations here in my own community that
Mhm.
offer free legal help to men or women that are in a domestic violence situation. They offer help. So if they need to get an injunction for protection, they're filing for divorce because of domestic violence, they will help for free. So there is a lot of help out there. You just
Mhm.
have to learn kind of where to go to get it. But I have such a passion for being involved in my community, attending as many as events as I can, networking, because we're all in this together. So we help each other out. One of the biggest things that I do is I'm part of my county's domestic violence task force. I'm on the prevention team. So what we do is we come up with ways of how we can put the word out there to create prevention. So one of the things that I do is I facilitate workshops to
Mhm.
either parents of teenagers, and depending on what field, like social workers. I do workshops that explain the red flags of domestic violence, things they need to be looking out for, because that is starting to create that prevention. So if we can help even the younger generation, the teenagers, with things they need to look out for, then that's creating, like I said, prevention, hopefully for the future.
Mhm. Mhm. And you're doing a lot of amazing things. I kind of wanted to shift the gear back to you and focusing on you because you went through an amazing journey of overcoming that victimhood of domestic violence, and now here you are having a nonprofit and you're working full time. What else do you do? Like what drives you every day, and what vision do you have for your life?
My vision is to develop a business that I can go and do public speaking to bring awareness to domestic violence, create prevention, and like I said, awareness. So I do a lot of speaking engagements, but that's something that I want to be able to do full time. I've been doing them for a while, but now I'm really ready to get into it. 'Cause I've done so much research and I've learned so much from
Mhm.
everything that I've been through, that I want to do more of the public speaking and facilitate workshops, because what I'm learning is I can talk about domestic violence, but people don't like to have that conversation.
Mhm.
And people think that just seeing a couple bruises on a woman's face means that there's domestic violence going on. And it's so much deeper than that. There's certain
Yeah.
behaviors and there's certain actions that they do that everyone needs to be aware of. And those are the things that I try to do, because it's so important to start having that candid conversation about what it is that is happening, even in our own neighborhoods. When I was in my situation, to be honest with you, nobody knew what was going on until I got free and I started telling people, and they were shocked. But looking back, they should have picked up on a lot of my behaviors that I didn't even realize I was, showing them.
Mhm.
But that's what I'm trying to do, is to create more awareness by doing a lot more public speaking and facilitating workshops to hopefully maybe deter this a little bit than it is now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that the violence, it may not be physical. It may be
Right.
just emotional, and having someone verbally abusing and keeping you small the whole time, making you feel like doubting yourself that you don't even exist. That's a lot of emotional abuse,
Yes.
and people may
Yes.
not
And
see that. Yeah.
no, absolutely not. And I used to tell people that I would rather take a punch from him than the verbal abuse that I used to get. That took me longer to heal than the physical, because the bruises would go away and you don't really think about it. But the verbal stuff, that took me years and years and years to finally recover from. Because when you hear all this negative stuff day after day after day, you start to
Mhm.
believe it and you believe that it's true. And it's something that's so hard to control. So I had to go through a lot of therapy, a lot of self care, which I didn't even know how to do.
Mhm.
And starting to realize that I'm better than that. And when I started turning it around in the way that I was looking at it, what can I do from my situation to help others? Because I firmly believed that it happened to me for a reason.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel that the only reason that God kept me alive from it was so that I can help other people. And that's why I'm just so passionate about it, because I honestly feel that that's what my calling is and that's what I need to be doing.
Yeah. You found a life purpose.
I did. I really did. I did.
And how did your children, how many kids do you have?
I have three.
Three. So were they old enough to realize, oh, mom is different, and we're doing this because mom wants to stand up for herself?
Yes. My oldest was 16 at the time, so he
Mhm.
completely knew what was going on.
Mhm.
There were many nights that he had to help me
Mhm.
to get away from him. My other two were a little bit younger, so I don't think they were quite aware of what was going on. But as they got older, they
Mhm.
would start to have kind of some flashbacks, and I would talk to them about it. And then they completely understand. So they support that I do this. One of the rules that we establish is that I never share their identity and I never share their dad's identity. That's just for them, because that's not what's behind it. With me, it's more about what can I do to make a change. It's not to badmouth him, because whatever happened happened and I'm okay with it. I've been able to move on. It's now my journey to help other people going through that situation.
You're an ideal survivor for
I
everyone.
try to be. I try to
You-
be. And I tell people, that saying, if I can do it, you can do it. I tell them, trust me when I tell you that, because when I left, I had no clue what I was doing. I I didn't know how I was going to make it. I went from being a stay-at-home mom to I had to go find a full-time job. I didn't know how I was going to put food on the table, but I just knew I was going to. I didn't want that life anymore. I was
Mhm.
so miserable. I was so sad. And I was just so tired of going to bed every night being so sad.
Yeah.
That's just not a way to live. And I felt like I wasn't being a good mom by doing that. So
Mhm.
once I started to get my life together and figure out what I was doing, try to figure out, okay, how am I going to survive this? The kids saw a whole different mom that started feeling very confident. I was very
Mhm.
happy. I had goals. I had never had goals before. I had goals now that I wanted to accomplish, and I started to accomplish them. And my life is a great life now. I have someone in my life who is absolutely amazing, and I am so blessed to finally find someone that God had put in my life, and that's who I was supposed to be with.
Mhm.
My kids are happy. I have a great relationship with all of them, and just life is so good. So that's what I try to tell them. You're going to go through a lot of bad stuff. Trust me, I know it's going to be ugly and it's going to be dirty, but at the end, if they just push through it and don't go back, just keep pushing through it, it's amazing the life you're going to get afterwards. And they start to become advocates as well,
Yeah.
because of it.
Yeah. I mean, I know you after this you experiencing all this journey. So what I'm seeing now is this really powerful, inspiring woman, very accomplished, and who's standing here and sharing her experience, and it really empowering other women to, really speak up and stand up and knowing that this is possible. And
Mhm.
you have such a great positive perspective in
Thank
life,
you.
and knowing that there's a purpose in life. And I think it's just a beautiful, outcome that you may not have seen, when you were in that situation where you're feeling,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. If you would have, I've left almost 9 years ago. If you would have told me what my life would have been right now, standing at this moment talking to you, I would say, "You're crazy. How am I going to get there?"
yeah.
But I did it, and that's why I keep telling them, just keep going through it. Just keep push yourself through it, because it's going to be so worth it at the end. And when I talk to women that I've helped and that are getting to that point where life is good,
Uh-huh.
oh, it's such a relief, because now you're able to see that light. And I have a running joke with some of the people that I've helped. And I said, that light at the end of the tunnel is no longer an oncoming train. It is now really the light at the end of the tunnel, that when you get there and you step out into this whole new world, oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful place. And to be part of that is amazing. And also, what a great role model you're being to your children. You're showing your children that you're not going to be putting up with this, and they can see them, they can live up to being that role model. So that was also very big for me. I didn't want my kids to think that it was okay to be treated. I didn't want my boys to think that that's how you treat a woman. And I didn't want my daughter to think that that's how a man treats a woman. I had to break that cycle. That's why I did it as well, was for them. And now they're in their own relationships, and I see how they're blossoming and doing great. And I take credit for that, just because I think they were able to see what's acceptable and what is not acceptable.
You're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So we have a couple of minutes left, and I'm curious, what do you think the world needs?
Well, the world needs peace. Quite frankly, it just needs peace. There's just so much chaos in this world. And every time that I turn on the news and I see another woman being killed by domestic violence or another situation like that, it breaks my heart. And I don't have an answer, and I wish that I did. And I wish I can tell you, you know what, Michelle, I'm closing my doors because there's no more domestic violence in the world. But unfortunately, it's going to keep happening. So I think just having that peace and that harmony with each other, it's like, let's get along. But it's unfortunately very difficult. So in the meantime, hopefully I will be there for those people that need me, so I can create that peace, at least in their lives.
Yeah. And so where can people find you?
You can go to my website, mustard seed bags with an S, bagsofcourage.org. My Facebook page, same name, Mustard Seed Bags of Courage, and on Instagram, same name.
Mhm. And if people would like to invite you to their event as a speaker or to advocate for domestic violence, how do
Mhm.
they reach you?
They can go on my website, and there's a little tab on the top for book a speaker, and they can click on that and fill out the form, and I'll get it, and then I'll be in contact with them to work out the details. I would love to do that.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show and sharing your amazing journey with us. I think this is very inspiring, and I hope, all the information that you have shared so far, I know it's going to be useful for someone who needs to hear it.
Oh, thank you so much, and I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, of course. I'm happy to. Well, thank you all for watching, and hopefully, this is something that you saw value in. And if you like what I do, please make sure you follow me on Facebook at Life Coaching by Elevate. And I will see you next week on Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.